Well, hey everybody, today is Wednesday, April the 17th. The year is 2024, and I'm standing on a hot deck. Look at my, ooh, I gotta move. If you're standing, today is about 80, the hottest day I think so far. I'm gonna say it's 83, 84 degrees, and if you can look behind me, there's a line where there's a shadow. And if you walk that shadow, you're all right. But if I get over here like this where I can see the sun, I gotta be careful because, oh, it's warm. But if I get here, maybe in the line of the shadows coming from the handrail, guardrail, whatever they call it, swam a record time today. Now I didn't feel it coming on or anything, I knew I had 3 days because the last time I was here, I just laid out. There were so many people in the pool, I didn't even swim. So that was Sunday. And I took Monday and Tuesday off, let my body rest. And so today, when I started swimming, I wasn't intending on setting any records or breaking any times, and darn if I did. I don't know, I just had a really good ability to just not be worried about the speed and glide. And I had watched some videos about this young guy. I may insert a video in here to show you who he is and what he was talking about that motivated me so much.
Improving your swimming skills is not that complicated with the right method. If you listen to too much advice, you might think that swimming is really confusing. Thinking about all the details you can improve can get overwhelming really fast. The only way to get better is to focus on one thing at a time. Our method creates clarity and progress by focusing on blocks of the same 5 steps at a time. We have helped hundreds of people in person and thousands online. What has surprised me the most is that we are all held back by the same 5 obstacles. The legs, for example, create resistance when the swimmer gets too tired. This happens from beginners to world-class swimmers alike, whether they're 7 or 70 years old. On this video, I will show you the 5 steps to swim better.
I actually didn't want to publish this video because it simplifies swimming so much. You might not need another swimming tutorial in a very long time.
On my first ever swimming class, I thought I had it all figured out. You move your arms in circles and kick the water with your instep or with your heel. How hard could it be? On my first swim lesson, I almost drowned. After hundreds and thousands of hours in the pool, I eventually learned to swim better. By this time, some swimmers were already faster and smoother, and I couldn't figure out why. It was only after teaching this method that I gained true clarity on the best way to learn to swim better, faster. If only I had these 5 steps back in 1997. Who knows? I could have been one of the best swimmers in the world. Alexa, has someone invented the time machine yet?
Yes, there are 2 time machines available on Amazon. Would you like to order one?
Yes, buy 2 of them, ASAP. Well, this one is too small and uses plutonium batteries, not included. The other is also very small, but it's actually bigger on the inside. It is still too small for me, but it is perfect to send a small book. Help me write this 5-chapter book and send it back to 1997. This is a tool that will help my 7-year-old self quickly correct the worst swimming mistakes. It has to be clear, entertaining, and help him at every stage. Hello, me. This is you from the future. I wrote this book to help you become one of the best swimmers in the world by the year 2016. This will help you avoid years of frustration and mistakes that you will do in your swimming career. Right now, you are learning an important skill, bubbling, but you are doing it wrong. This is why you feel out of breath. This is where all your swimming problems begin.
Yeah, as you can see, the guy is really good at making videos about swimming. So he wrote a letter to his younger self. And what I've been doing is quantum jumping over to my other self in an alternate timeline of a multi-reverse reality of a multiverse, where at 9 years old I made a conscious decision to dedicate my life to swimming. Now that didn't happen in this timeline, but there was a point in my life when that came about. And I remember being at a swimming pool and watching a guy swim. He never talked to me, never did anything, but he was telepathically connecting and resonating with me on who he was and what he was doing. I know him now as the time traveler that I am, going back in time and telling myself about how good of a swimmer I would one day become. And the funny thing about that, let me tell you this part of that event was, it was a week before Katrina. Oh, I'm saying it wrong. Not Katrina. Hurricane Camille.
On this hot summer day, the Biloxi beach is inviting, and the water you hear at the Hurricane Camille Memorial almost calming. 50 years ago, it was anything but.
It's now 6:30 p.m. Sunday in Biloxi, Mississippi, and the hurricane is really beginning to be felt here.
Channel 4's Jim Metcalf was on the scene as the coast braced for Camille's landfall. In reality, nothing could have prepared people in South Mississippi for what was to come. The Category 5 hurricane's winds were so strong they broke most of the wind recording devices, although one reading put them at 175 miles an hour. 24-foot seas in some areas caused massive destruction that people spent decades trying to describe. Here's how Bill Elder did.
This scene here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast is almost like an endless nightmare, almost like an endless one-act play with some sort of a macabre ending.
The storm was so powerful, for some it was difficult to even make sense of what it had done.
Bound to be in here somewhere because all these are the houses that came from in this vicinity. They're all right in here in this neighborhood, but mine was right on the corner and I don't even see it. Yonder!
It was like World War III. I mean, landmarks were gone. South of the railroad track was just a disaster area. It just changed the coast.
Ed Blakesley lived north of the strike zone in Laurel, but was sent south for his job with the Mississippi Power Company. 50 years later, as he looks at photos in this new exhibit at the Maritime and Seafood Industry Museum in Biloxi, it brings everything back.
Katrina looked the same way. Katrina looked the same way.
Photos in the exhibit chronicle Camille's wide path of destruction across the coast.
And what we've done is we've broken it down by city. So each panel is a different city and kind of goes across the coast. You start the far west with Bay St. Louis and work our way east.
There's also a hands-on exhibit that recreates the phone banks that were set up to give survivors a way to call their loved ones. Now picking up a phone lets you hear audio of a Camille survivor story. Surviving and thriving, even in the face of killer storms like Camille and Katrina, is something the Gulf Coast is known for. Museum staffer Corey Christie sees a parallel in one memorial photo.
And one of the great photos I love is the Biloxi Lighthouse still standing, because that's been there through all the storms, all the major storms. I mean, it took damage and needed repair, but it's still there, and I think that's kind of a good symbol of the coast and what we're about.
So I was 7 or 8, and I never will forget it. I seen Biloxi, Mississippi, what it looked like before Hurricane Camille. And that man showed up at that little small swimming pool, and he did some swimming correctly, and my little eyes seen it and made a gravitation to the fact that I wanted to learn to swim. I had already knew how to swim. I just didn't know how to swim properly. My uncles and my daddy took me to Lake Ferguson River. They were fishing and doing things, and there was a little wooden dock there, and they threw me off that dock to teach me how to swim. Now I know that sounds like child brutality or child neglect or something because they was drinking when they did it. But no, that's the way they taught people to swim in Mississippi, because we lived in Greenville so close to the river and Lake Ferguson that kids were known to sneak off on their skipping school and take their bicycle and go over the levee and swim. And they wanted me to learn at the age of 4 or 5 so I wouldn't make that mistake of going over there and not knowing how to swim and get drowned one day. Ain't it funny how these things set us up in life to learn but not learn, do but not do. For you to become that you say you are, you have to dedicate your life to wanting to be the best at something? Well, I always wanted to swim, but I didn't even get a chance to swim until my children got old enough for me to teach them to swim, because I was too busy working and spinning my wheels in time without being conscious. And so when I did teach my little girls to swim, we, bought into the, they called it Three Rivers out, recreation deal for their Greenwood, Mississippi's. And I paid, to go, and so that's when I first started back swimming laps. And I remember how hard it was. I think they had every bit of a 50-foot pool, 50 yards. It was bigger than a 25. I have to look that up and remember that a little better than what I'm telling you. It could have just been 25 meters. But I couldn't even swim 25 meters when I started back, and that was in the 90s, early 90s. But I didn't quit. I just, in a way, I didn't swim near enough to become an elite athlete. But within 5 years, I did my first triathlon. So swimming came to me, then a bicycle came to me. And the guy that got me the bicycle, he was buying another one, and he was working for Bike and Range, and he had a good quality Trek bike. I think it was a Trek 900, that's a pretty old bike considered now. But yeah, he came in and out, and over the years I met him a few times, and so he mentioned about doing a half triathlon, the Heart of Dixie, and I took him up on it. So I trained for about 3 years, and I went and did it. Now, I finished in the middle of the pack. I had 80-year-old women passing me on the run. That's how humiliating it was. Now, I was pretty good on the bike, and my swim was nowhere close to being what it needed to be to compete with them people at that level. But I managed to swim a half mile in a reasonable amount of time. I didn't drown. But I'm telling you all that to tell you a story about never give up. Never think that you can be complacent with your body and go, I'm just not that football player or that cheerleader I once was. And allow yourself to get into a rut about working so much that you ain't got time for the most important thing there is, and that's your health. At any age, you can start slowly and get completely back into shape that you was in your 20s. I'm doing it. I'm a living example. I just turned 63, and I'm not checking up not one bit. I broke 5 all-time PRs in swimming 1 mile, non-stop, mind you. And if I can do it, you can do it. If I can show you through these videos and telling stories about how time is not what we think it is. It's a mechanism and a device to help us wake up consciously to the resurrected power of the Christ that lives on the inside of each atom. We become what we say we are. If you change the way you think about everything, you can change your entire body. You can heal yourself from any types of diseases, negativities, demonic attachments. All the harm that was done in your life can be erased with your inner knowing that you are loved by the Creator of all source. And when the Creator of all source created the light body being that I am, is the one that has always been and always will be. I'm just popped into this body, this physical incarnation as Buddy Huggins. But I'm not Buddy. I'm living out an existence in time-space continuum, having to discover the long way around about who I am. Here I am at great peace since August 17, 2003. Yeah, that's been 20 years. I've had great peace and had to be able to rebuild my body, or I would be crippled. I would be in a wheelchair, or I'd been dead by now if I just didn't believe that I could change the situations in my life by changing the way I thought about them. We are very powerful beings. In the mouth, in the tongue, in the words that we speak is life or death. You can change your entire existence by shifting the way you think. And if you ask for a divine revelation of who you really are and what's happening in this world, you will receive answers. You may not be ready for them, but you will receive them. So in time, I'm telling people what's going on in this reality. It's a takeover of the one world system that wants a one world government, and that's why they've been planning on this stuff for a long time, to blend Canada and Mexico and South America into the North American Union. And that's why they don't care about anybody coming across the borders, because they want it not to be borders. They want it to be the whole, from Canada all the way down to South America, a one world government on this part of the world that we have so much to lose by losing our constitutional rights. But these people don't care. You hear me? They don't care about you and me. All they care about is sticking to an agenda that they've been given because they have took the shortcuts to make the billions. Can you see and hear what I'm putting down? These people have been lied to, and they are the people that will be the ones that will be cutting our heads off if we don't wake up. Even in this little bitty place like Ozark, Missouri, they have owners of the counties, all of the counties. They have an owner of the whole state. You'll never know his name. You'll never know the local people's names that are behind the scene. You understand what I'm saying? You won't see them, you won't know them, but they know me, and they know anybody that tells this story of who we really are. Because we're the only thing that can stop what's coming. When we wake up to our true identity in Christ and teach love and teach peace, and then teach people how to recognize what is true history and what is manipulation of his story, so they can reset your ass again. Hello, Indians. How? How did they kill you all? It was real easy. You killed yourselves. How are they killing everybody now? It's real easy. You're killing yourselves. You won't quit smoking. You won't quit drinking. You won't quit eating poison. The depopulation of America has already begun. And the depopulation of what's coming, if you don't snap out of your comfort zone into your awakening mind, you will be misled and told that there's a person that can solve our problems. Only Christ living within your atoms can solve any problem. It's not something that's going to bust the sky open and the one called Jesus is going to come back riding on a horse and make war. That didn't happen the first go round, and he didn't turn into a cowboy or a rodeo star, and it ain't going to happen now. That's his story. It's not the truth of who we are. That's what Yeshua ben Joseph was teaching, that he was the son of the creator of all source. That's all I'm telling you. That creator of all source is my Father. And I know my Father to have a feminine, loving, mothering nature. So I call it Father, Mother God. And it gets people confused. You can stay confused, and you can get your head cut off. You can decide to speak life to your body, your atoms, your cells, and your DNA, and believe that you are that powerful, that you can heal yourself, that you can heal the world by changing your thinking. Your situations will get healed, and you'll come out of depression, anxiety, and the fear of lack. How can the Son of God be in lack of anything? As long as you're breathing, you are a billionaire. You have your health. They are people that have sold their souls to the Luciferians to be the controllers and to be the puppet people that we see making music and videos and, you know, magic movie spells and things like that to get billions. They're going to get their heads cut off just like we are. It's when I do that, you understand, it's symbolic of leaving the carnal nature, which is your carnal brain and your carnal thinking. And you literally have to go out of your mind to wake up. That's all it is. It's not that they're going to be able to take guillotines and cut people's heads off, because the awakening is what's going to stop that. I know it sounds insane, but there's some ass people, hoes, that want to do that. And they even are on the local level. That have sold their soul down a road of, yeah, if I do this, I'm going to be powerful. We can weed them out, people. We can come together under onevoicenow.org and know what the agendas are going to be before the meetings and before the council and the boards and all these things they have set up differently, so nobody knows what's really being voted on. We can change that. If we can change that here locally, then we can do it in the state. If we can do it in the state, we can do it in the whole country before we lose our wonderful Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and the amendments of the Constitution, therefore, in it, that gives us liberty and justice and pursuit of happiness without our rights being trampled on by any local or state or national government that tells us that we've already accepted tyranny. I haven't accepted nothing but the truth of who I am and the truth of the creator of all source. Y'all want to weed out the ones like have eyes to see? That's okay. You do what you got to do. But you can't stop what's coming. The collective of the awakening, massive consciousness is opening. In reality, people are awakening to their true nature without me having to teach it or other teachers teach it. It's a gift. It came from Yeshua ben Joseph. He said, love yourself and love everyone and everything as if it was yourself. Y'all have a good day. I've rambled on and I keep going. I'm going to tell stuff that you're going to blow your mind and y'all won't come back. I want you to come back and keep watching my channel, because I'm going to explain to you who made the guillotines and where they are and how they did plan on using them, but I think the timeline has changed, and I'll tell that story here pretty soon. I love all of y'all. Thank you for watching my channel. I really, really appreciate it. Keep coming back. Don't give up. You have the power of Christ in you.